supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone. I think I'm going to have to change that video now that I have my new studio behind me, but that's something for a completely other day. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended Podcast, and the Blended Pledge. And I'm super excited because we've got some really great stories to talk to you about today with Melissa from Delivery Solutions, one of them being sand trafficking. Have you ever heard of it? Well, if you haven't, that's okay. I only heard about it recently and I wanted to share it with you, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Now, before I get to what is happening with Let's Talk Supply Chain, I need to give a shout out to our show sponsor. So are you ready to find your people? If you are struggling to find a supply chain community of like-minded professionals where you can level up, network, learn about best practices from experts in supply chain, professional development, and marketing, look no further. So we created the Secret Society of Supply Chain to provide a safe space, a community for everyone in supply chain. We offer unique opportunities for everyone to connect and grow in 3 distinct value-packed communities: the supply chainers, women in supply chain, and the creative room. From the learn at your own pace, content-rich approach of the supply chainers to the empowering community-focused space of women in supply chain and the marketing mastermind of the creative room, we mean it when we say there's truly a place for everyone. So head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com to explore which community was made for you. All right. So here's what's happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new episode out with Krenar from Tive. If you do not know Tive, go and check out this episode. And how far would you go for your in-laws? Well, Krenar tells us the founding story of how he came up with Tive, and it was to help solve a solution for his father-in-law. So go and check out that story. I loved the story. It's episode 409 wherever you listen to our show, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Go and check that out. Now, I don't know if all of you know this, but we have a weekly LinkedIn newsletter for Let's Talk Supply Chain, full of so many great insights. We share links to articles. We also share a lot of the shows that we've got going on for that week so that you do not miss out on anything. So make sure that you have followed or subscribed to this particular newsletter so that you don't miss a beat. All right, what else is happening? On June 19th, Christine Barnhart is going to be back for her live show, Supply Chain Unfiltered: How to Hack Your Supply Chain for the Modern World. Now go and click the attend button. We put the link in the comments so that you do not miss out on this episode. Even if you can't attend live, definitely click that attend button and we will send you the link to the recording. Next, I'm going to be moderating a webinar June 13th with Boot Barn and Reveal, as well as Supply Chain Brain at 2 p.m. Eastern. So head over to the comments and click the link to register now, because I can't wait to see you there, because we're going to be talking about how they transformed their parcel shipping. And next, have you completed a nomination form either for yourself or for somebody else for the Women in Supply Chain Awards? The deadline is June 7th. So head over to the link in the comments and nominate somebody today. I really want to see everybody at the forum in November. What else? We also put out a post around the digital trends and operations for 2024. Now, we base the information on PwC's survey, and it really came out with some interesting stats and some of the things that you need to look at when you're thinking about your operations for 2024. So go and check that out. All right, I think it is now time for us to bring up our guest for today. Hello, Melissa. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
It's great to see you. Now, before the show and before you introduce yourself, you reminded me that you were on the show back in 2019 and you said it was episode 61. Now, I just mentioned that we're on episode 409. So that was like 300 and something episodes ago. And you and I have kind of come full circle. I'm so glad to have you back.
It has. It's come full circle. Yeah, back then I was with Spend Management Experts, and they were acquired by TI since then. And now I'm back at Delivery Solutions, which is owned by UPS, which has taken my career completely full circle because I started my career in supply chain at UPS. So it's great to be back and back on the
Awesome.
show, and love what you've done with the show. It's come a long way since then, with
Thank
lots more
you.
people and lots more
Yeah.
content, and it's great. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So for anybody who doesn't know you, just do a quick introduction, your title, your name, all of that kind of stuff, and then we're going to get into everything that we need to talk about today.
Sure. My name is Melissa Runge. I am the Senior Director of Partnerships for Delivery Solutions, which is a UPS company. And we are an orchestration platform for everything delivery, pickup, post-purchase, and returns as it pertains to shipping and with retailers. So excited.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's definitely on the top of everybody's mind. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of organizations, retailers, how do we fix this last mile, almost this last minute delivery, because that's all a part of the experience. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is that customer experience and how we take an old adage and turn it around customer experience, which I'm excited to share with everybody. Now, when we ask the question to our audience, because we ask everybody a poll question every single Wednesday morning on our LinkedIn. Now, we wanted to ask this particular question on behalf of Delivery Solutions because we wanted to find out from the community what is the most important and top of mind for you right now. And with all the votes that we got, the question was, what is the biggest challenge for your retail business? Now, 58% of you said same day shipping, 27% of you said processing online returns, and 16% of you said BOPIS. Now, for me, I think processing online returns at 27% was a little low. I actually thought it was going to win out the day. What do you think, Melissa?
So I think still top of mind for retailers is this same day shipping. As we came out of COVID, same day shipping and buy online, pick up in store, where we all were stuck in our homes and wanting to get things fast, same day was on the top of everybody's mind. But I agree with you that returns has quickly become the front runner in terms of retailers and how they can control that experience with their customer, all the way from shipping back to returns, and understanding what the customer is wanting in that arena. So I agree with you that returns is probably what I hear about most, but same day is still on the forefront of everybody's mind. How do we capitalize on that same day shipping, giving the customers what they want for that fast where you are, meet your customer where you are approach. So
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit because as consumers, I've been thinking a lot about this. In last week's Thoughts and Coffee, we spoke about Domino's and their 30 minutes or free, which happened, I think, in the 90s. Is totally going to date
yep.
me. But we talked about the detriment of that, like 30 minutes or free, and what it actually did. And there was actually a lot of like car accidents and deaths and all sorts of things, which you don't really relate to that. And, same day delivery, I almost wonder, like, do we really need same day delivery? Are consumers always thinking about needing that today? And there are some items, but I think some people are also sort of thinking about, maybe I don't need that today. Maybe we can get that delivered tomorrow. But the returns piece of it, and I brought this up before because I bought something from a well-known brand a little while ago, and it sat in my house for 8 weeks before I got a return label. And I'm like, the capital on this product is just
That
like sitting in my house that it made me cringe every time I looked at the box.
Yeah, there's so much going on with returns these days, and retailers trying to control that experience. Like I said, they don't want their customers to have the experience that you had of sitting in your house for 8 weeks, this inventory. They also don't want, empty boxes coming back, or boxes full of rocks, or maybe even sand, as we talk about sand.
Yeah,
So
we're
we've
going to
seen
talk about sand.
fraud in the return space as well. So it is definitely a hot topic these days, and something that, as an online shopper, I really want that good returns experience, because we buy multiple things and then see what fits and then send the returns back. So it all needs to be a seamless process, and
Mhm.
and from the retailer's perspective, they need to provide that seamless process on returns as well.
Yeah, and some retailers do it better than others. I just had a great return experience with another large brand. And then I had another return experience with Amazon where I had to pay like half of the cost of what I originally paid. And I was like, I'll do it, but it really bothers me.
Yeah.
So there's so many different scenarios and so many things that everybody's thinking about. Now, if you're out there in the audience, I want to know where you're tuning in from. So make sure in the comments you put in the name of the city, the place that you're tuning in from, because I'd love to hear from you. Plus, if you have any questions, Melissa is only here with us till 10:30, and we want to get some of those questions in. So make sure you use the comments for that. So, Melissa, this is the time of the show where I usually ask for a bit of a market update. What are you hearing from clients? You go to a lot of conferences, you're talking to a lot of supply chain professionals, industry people. What is top of mind for everybody? What's everybody thinking about right now?
So I think, with all of the bankruptcies with retailers, big box retailers
Mhm.
that we hear about in the market, I think it's just those retailers that have really embraced this digital supply chain network concept early on before COVID, which maybe has accelerated through COVID, have really been the retailers that have uh, really prospered during this time after COVID. For those retailers who may be stuck in the old big box, shop and store, not digital environment, they're really struggling, and some of them have really hit the obsolete mark or hit the demise mark in their business strategy, which is very sad to see some of these longtime retailers going out of business. So I think what I'm hearing in the market is how do retailers really embrace this digital supply chain network, and have we got past the point of kind of inventory awareness from a data perspective and moving really toward, orchestration on the back end, how to provide a seamless experience to their customers, being a customer centric digital supply chain network now versus just a digital supply chain network. So I think that's what I'm hearing most in the market, as well as, we all feel the effects of the marketplace and increased prices and groceries from an
Mhm.
economy standpoint. And, recently we're hearing that big box retailers are slashing prices on groceries and on, everyday essential items, which it should really be a help to our wallets. But we're finally seeing, the post COVID, retailers coming back from that and being more price conscious on where they're pricing their goods. So
Yeah, I think that's a really great update. I think the other part of it too is I think, smaller retailers, smaller organizations, smaller businesses are understanding the need for them to be able to stop doing things manually and understanding that there are technologies out there that can help them. Now, our first article, that gives me a good segue into our first article because really it talks about a real use case around a salon service group. Now, this isn't a huge company, right? Because I think it says that they have customers in 70 locations or so. So that's not a huge customer. But I think when we are doing things manually, it's really taking a lot of our time during the day. And even as small retailers or small distributors, we need to be thinking about how do we utilize that technology to optimize what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So talk to me about this because what I really liked about this article is that you started with customer is always right. Now, I've been hearing that for 25 years. And the next generation coming into the industry is kind of like, well, are they really? We're not sure. But what you do is you turn it around and you say that the customer is always right about their experience with your brand. And so true, right? We might each all have a different version of what that looks like. But if the customer feels like they have been treated really well or treated badly, that is their experience. And they're always going to be right about that experience. You can't argue with somebody about that. So talk to me about this particular scenario.
So for Salon Service Group, they are their customer is salon owners or stylists that are being shipped same day products that they need to do their everyday job, so essential items. And so they really needed the same day solution that matched their demand for their customers. And as you said, in this scenario, the customer is always right in how they are interacting with Salon Service Group. And you're also right in saying that Salon Service Group is not a large company. They, 70 locations is not necessarily in the enterprise space that Delivery Solutions is usually in. But with our partnerships with commerce solutions, where smaller companies can build their e-commerce solution on these platforms like Salesforce, Shopify, we can integrate in with those different solutions and provide same day shipping or ship from distribution center from our solution with smaller customers. So it's smaller in terms of small to medium businesses that are doing business that want to do same day shipping. So it was very successful for Salon Service Group, and we are slowly getting into that small medium business arena where we can do low code, no code type of integrations with these commerce platforms that can allow those types of customers to use our platform.
Yeah, and one of the pieces of that story was that she was pricing out the different carriers and the delivery costs with each carrier. So what would happen is the client would call in and say, I want to order these products. And then they would have to go and figure out which carrier they want to use, which one was cheaper, the pricing, go back to the client, I think with a delivery cost and have them approve that order. And it took me back to my time in logistics. So I used to do, ocean import, air import, that kind of thing. I remember for the origin charges, I would have to wait almost 2 weeks to get origin charges to be able to quote a customer. Like, think about that. 2 weeks. 2 weeks today is a lifetime, first of all. And then for delivery, I would have to go to a couple of different carriers. But when you've got, 20 different files on your desk that you have to potentially do this for, 20 plus files. I mean, I'm just, there was way more than that. But think about all that time I was spending, on the phone, calling these people. And it took so much time. It's so interesting because I talk to technology providers all the time, and I think back to, and I'm like, I wish I had this stuff when I was in logistics, because it just would have made my life a lot easier. So, when you have technology like that, think about all of those phone calls and that back and forth interaction, which not only doesn't serve you and your business, it doesn't serve your customer and their business, because they also have to make time to pick up the phone and call you. And that could be, 2 days later. Like, you could have missed out on an order because they had to wait to find some time to pick up the phone and call you, right?
Yeah, we consider our platform the last carrier integration that retailers will ever have to do. So we are integrated with over 130 carriers, from shipping carriers to same day shipping carriers. So it provides the orchestration, like what way do you want the shipment to go? Do you want it to be buy online, pick up in store? But it also integrates with all of those different carriers for exactly what you were talking about, which is pricing is available for all different carriers on the shipping side to the same day side. And you don't have to integrate with all of those different carriers or call all of those different carriers. So that's really one key benefit to our solution.
Well, and if you're looking to grow your business, you can't grow your business through phone calls. I mean, let's be honest, right? So if you want to grow your business, you definitely have to introduce some technology. All right. So let's get to our second article. Now, this one I mentioned at the top of this show. Have you ever heard of sand trafficking? Well, I hadn't heard of it until about a week ago, and I cannot remember how I found this article. But it's actually under environmental trade and crime, which I didn't even know was a thing. But apparently, sand trafficking is huge. And I'm going to show you some stats a little bit later on about how it's number 3 after drug trafficking in the world. And the reason why I'm bringing this to everybody's attention and talking to Melissa about this today is because us as logistics and supply chain professionals, moving sand throughout the world actually can look legal, but a lot of it is done illegally, and there's a lot of environmental impacts that come with it. So Melissa, I know I kind of threw you a curveball with this one, but what did you think about this article?
It was definitely a curveball, but an interesting one. I started diving deep into the sand trafficking industry and was amazed by how large it is. 200 to 400 billion dollars in sand traffic.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I do think it's a supply chain issue, as you pointed out. So from a demand and supply perspective, obviously you can see from the chart showing the demand for sand from which is used in construction, cement, things like that, is way higher than the actual supply. So it sounds like the mafia has really taken over the sand business and trafficking sand so that they can meet the demand with that supply in an illegal way. So it was just amazing to me to find out that it's third behind drug trafficking and counterfeiting. It's
I
just
know.
amazing.
Yeah, so sand is the main ingredient in concrete, and the construction industry uses 50 billion tons of sand a year in the construction industry. And so it's next to water as the most consumed. They're talking about us running out of sand by 2050. And so you can understand the environmental impacts, because sand is a physical system for holding water. So I'm checking my notes because I don't know enough about sand, and I took a bunch of notes on this one because it's super important. Now, one of the things around sand trafficking is that it's very hard to figure out what's being moved legally and what's actually being moved illegally. And so it's important for us as logistics and supply chain professionals to keep a handle on what is being shipped and what to look out for, and to ask questions, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be living in this environment in 2050. And if we don't have enough sand to go around to help us, hold that water that we need to be able to survive, then the environmental impacts are going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So if you don't know about sand trafficking, definitely go and check out that article that we were just talking about. And Morocco is a major market for sand trafficking, which I didn't even know. I was thinking about this because the article goes into the story about how they actually want to go to a beach, and they're stopped from going to the beach because they're actually mining all this sand illegally, and they don't want anybody to get close to it, which means that there are some governments and there's some people in big firms that are a part of this that are helping to mine this sand. So incredibly mind blown. I don't know what you're going to do about this, Melissa, but I definitely wanted to spread the word so that we as supply chain logistics professionals can keep an eye out.
Yeah, I don't know that I can do anything about it, but being aware, I think, is the only thing that we can do about it, and especially the environmental impact. And I think it's great to learn new things and to understand the effects on our environment.
Absolutely. Now, Bayram asks, how can we improve the conditions of work ethically in the supply chain industry? Now, that's a really big question. I don't think Melissa or I can really do it justice. But I think from my point of view, bringing out stories like this, having conversations with people like Melissa, to be able to bring the content and the information about how we can work better together, what does affect how we can do our work, things like sand trafficking that we didn't even know that we should be looking out for. I think there's a lot of ways that we can do it, and I think everybody can do it in a variety of ways. Do you have anything to add to that, Melissa?
I would just say in our industry, working with retailers around the fast fashion business, it's also how we can find work ethically, find work conditions in that arena too, because fast fashion is also a dominant player in unethical supply chain practices. So I think just like you said, stories like these, sand trafficking, fast fashion, just keep us all informed about the industry and how we can bring awareness to it.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to our last article. So this article is about being carrier agnostic. Now, when it comes to last mile delivery, Melissa and I already spoke about how hard it is to juggle all these carriers that we can potentially use to deliver a great customer experience to our customers so that they can come back and buy from us. So, talk to me about this, Melissa. Why is carrier agnostic so important to organizations?
Well, I think most retailers have understood the diversification of carriers within their network, to understand the implications of risk, so mitigating risk on the carrier side, but also from a pricing perspective, understanding why it's important to have a carrier agnostic platform in on the same day side as well. So Delivery Solutions was the first to do kind of the carrier aggregation on the same day side of the business. So you have your Ubers, your DoorDash, all of the carriers on the same day side that were fragmented. And it's important for all retailers to have the option, if they're not getting the customer experience that they want from their existing carriers, to have that diversification. And on the shipping side as well. So we are a UPS company, but we are carrier agnostic from a shipping perspective. So offering shipping through all of carriers, and it's just important all around. From my experience, way back when we talked in 2019 about this same subject, about mitigating cost from a carrier aggregation approach, diversification in carriers. When a retailer is experiencing things like COVID or other disasters, or a lack in supply of carriers, then they suffer. So I think just a carrier agnostic approach is becoming more and more beneficial to retailers and customers alike, as it pertains to shipping and same day shipping. So I think it's just an important to your ROI and bottom line decision.
So talk to me about that bottom line. Why is it important to the bottom line? How does it help?
So I think from a customer loyalty and lifetime value perspective for your customers that are coming in, I think the option of a carrier agnostic approach of aggregating a lot of different options and giving you the ability to be nimble in your decision making of changing from one carrier to another if you're not receiving that customer service that you expect your customers to receive. So feedback from the customer and putting that information into your hands from your data, and understanding the fact that you can change out carriers quickly from an integration standpoint because you already have all of the carriers integrated, and having the pricing established. So you're not making those phone calls looking for a backup option. I think it just from a loyalty perspective of your customers, providing that customer experience you want, as well as from a pricing perspective. It's always better to have more carriers competing for your business than it is being sole source with a carrier.
True. Very, very, very true. So, Expel Logistics, I see your question, but we're really talking about carriers, not demand forecasting technology. We do have other content about that, so you can head over to letstalksupplychain.com and check that out. All right, so we are coming to the end of the show, and I just want to let everybody know where we are going to be. So, I'm going to be at Home Delivery World next Wednesday, June 5th, and we're going to be in the Media Zone recording podcasts on site. So, make sure to come and say hi. I'm also going to be moderating the keynote with Daryl from Target and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. And then the week after, I'm going to be in New Orleans for the TMSA Elevate Conference, June 9th through 11th. So I hope to see you there. If you are there, come and say hi. And next week, I believe, where am I going to be next week? Oh, next week, Christine Barnhart is going to be here, and she's going to be hosting a really great conversation about technology, AI, all sorts of different things that are happening in supply chain. So don't miss out on that. And then I will be back the week after with Audrey. I hope you all have a great week. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.